is your daily how-to. Are you ready for this? Okay, so as I was looking through the comments from last week, when I said, let me know what something is that you want to learn more about. What is a technique you want to learn? What is something you want to become better skilled at? You know, and you shared with me all sorts of ideas, but there was one in particular that a couple of people actually asked, and I'm so sorry, I can't remember names off the top of my head, but there was someone in particular who was working on a project that had inside corners for binding and wondered if I could give some tips on how to do the inside corners. Now, outside corners we're all very familiar with, right? We go around, we have that 90-degree angle on the outside, and last week I showed a binding tutorial of how to do that. But the problem comes is, how do we, let's say we have an odd shaped project that we're working on that happens to have an inside corner. So they said, do you have any advice for that? And I do. And so what I decided to do was, I actually have a video on that very dilemma in our club page. And for those of you who don't know what the club is, it is a yearly membership. It's filled with lots of online classes, printables, patterns, how-tos, lots and lots of videos. You get special discounts, all sorts of fun things going on inside the club. And so I thought, well, rather than try and show this to you during the live, I'm going to bring over the video to show you right now as if I were doing it live, so you can get a feel for something that you'll find in the club. So if you'll allow me to do that, and hopefully you'll be able to learn something new at the same time. So I'm going to bring my video over for us to learn more about how to bind inside corners. There may be times when you have an inside corner like this one in a project, and it's a little tricky to figure out how to bind something like that. So I'll show you some easy ways to do that. And the first thing we're going to do is, we need to figure out the turning point of how we're going to turn our binding when we get to this inside corner. And the trick to that is by using your ruler and marking your 1/4 inch seam allowance in one direction, and with the adjoining edge going from the other direction. All right, so you can see that these two lines intersect right here. And so what I'm going to do is place a pin right there just to hold my spot, so that as I sew, I remember the exact place of where to turn and where to pivot my my project. Okay, so this right here is really the key to having a really nice mitered corner on an inside corner. All right, so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take it over to the sewing machine, and I will sew a 1/4 inch down on this side. And as I approach this corner point right here, I'm going to actually take my stitches down by length by a few notches. So let's say if you had maybe a 2.5 default on your stitch length, I would take it down to maybe a 1.8 or 1.6. You just want a little bit smaller of a stitch length as you come into this corner, as you go to the point, and then as you pivot, I want you to keep that same stitch length. Let me get that thread out of the way. Keep the same stitch length as you go the opposite direction now for about, I don't know, maybe a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch or so. Just again, as you go into this corner, again shortening the stitch length. Then at that point, we'll continue on from there. I'll show you what I'm going to do at the machine as I get closer to this. What will I do with this extra, piece right here, and how we maneuver around that corner. Okay, so now I'm at the sewing machine and I'm just going to very carefully start stitching along here. And I'm getting a little bit closer to that corner pivoting point. Remember, we marked it right there. So at this time, I'm going to actually take a minute to reduce my stitch length by a few notches. Let's see. There we go. It's going to be very tight. There we go. I'm going to remove the pin and lift up my presser foot and pivot. But this time I'm going to stretch this out so that I have created a straight edge right here. So it seems a little odd, but what I want is for the back piece to line up against the presser foot and this next piece just to keep going straight. So what I've done here is brought over my binding so that it's straight across, up and down right here. And you will notice a little bunching right here. That's okay. That's what we want. So at this point, I'll go ahead and put my presser foot down again, remembering that my stitch length is a lot tighter. I'm going to go a few stitches this way, stop, and then I'll go ahead and place my stitch length back to where it was and finish sewing the rest of that edge. Perfect. If you take a look at this corner here, if I spread this out to be straight, you'll notice that I actually stitched straight down that edge. It looks as if there's a little pucker there, but it's not. No worries, we're going to take care of that next. Okay, so you're going to take this binding and with your scissors just cut a little slit right into the binding. You don't want to do it into the rest of your quilt. That's already notched out, but we do want to do it right here where the binding is. That's going to help give it just a little bit more extra room to play with. And as you can see here, my corner looks really good, my mitered corner. That's how we've done it before, but this is the new part where we have played around with doing this new mitered corner. And what you'll want to do is you're just going to basically pinch this and pleat it, as you can see right here, and then it will all go back to the back and it looks beautiful. Here we go. So now you have a perfect mitered corner even on the inside of a project, and that's exactly how it's done. Okay, so that was just an excerpt from my binding class on the club. So I have a binding made easy. I talk about inside corners, outside corners, scalloped binding, flange binding, prairie points, all of the above. So I hope you found that tutorial helpful, and Michelle said her cat is watching me. Oh, so yeah, my cat is watching you. She loves to watch YouTube videos. This is a nice break from bird videos. Oh, Michelle, I miss you, my friend. Too funny. So, yeah, so that is just an excerpt from one of the videos you'll find on the club. And I think you'll be able to find lots of really good information there, not only by myself, but we have a team of content creators who add to the club. And add every week. There's new items found there. So yeah, if you have any questions, Sue, you had asked if it was a good time for a question about the club. I would love to answer any questions that you might have, or if you have questions about the binding. Debbie said, you made it look so easy. Yay! I love that. It really is easy. It's just sometimes it's a matter of, now, how did I do that again? And that's the nice thing about having access to the club, that you just go, okay, I remember there's a video on this. I'm going to go right to it, click on it, and oh yeah, within 5 minutes, you're like, okay, that's how you do it again. Because it's something like that that is, you don't always, you're not always doing inside corners on binding. So when it comes to the time you do, oftentimes you forget how it was done, right? So anyway, so that I hope was helpful to all of you, and for whoever it was that really, really wanted me to do a tutorial on that, I hope that helps. So, all right, nothing to be scared of, nothing to be scared of at all. Thank you, Laura. You're so sweet. All right. Linda shares, I love the club. I'm new to it, still figuring out all of the great things for members. Yeah, there's a lot there already. And the fun thing is that more items are being added every single week. So there's just tons of, it's just a wealth of information all in one place, whether it's sewing, quilting, piecing, machine embroidery, serging, long arming, wool, handwork, the different feet on your machines, whatever it is. We have lots of, whenever we put out a new exclusive pattern, club members always get that pattern for free. Lots of downloads, printables. It really is a great place to be. And I love the community that's being built on the club as well, of people helping each other. So, all right. Sue asked, how do I, as a club member, find out about club special deals? And is there newsletter specific to the club? If so, how often does it come out? Yes, Sue, yes, and yes. So we post all of the club specials in the private Facebook group for club members. We also send out a newsletter when new things come up. But we usually send that out maybe once to twice a month for that's specific to club members. So hopefully that helps. Oh, thank you, Ann Bill. She said you are so knowledgeable. I love the club videos because it's teaching me so many more techniques. You're helping me improve my sewing skills. Love the club and your content. And I will have to say, those of you who are members of the club, you've probably been watching Ann Bill teach Vintage Boardwalk the last couple weeks. She's got another one coming up this coming Friday. And that, my friend, you are a wealth of knowledge and so much good information. So thank you for your kind words. All right. So that's how you do binding on the inside corner. That's